Hi, my name's Keith Cooper of Northlight Images, and this is the Laowa 35mm f2.8 tilt shift lens which I'm looking at for a review. But several people have asked me questions about the basics of, why would you use a lens like this? So this is just a quick overview. Nipped out into the garden this morning to take a few shots with this, just a bit of the back of the house, just to show you what shift does. Now tilt is different. I've got lots of videos and stuff about that, but this is just about shift. I'm also going to show the difference between using this lens on medium format camera, which is this GFX 100S, and using the lens on a 35mm full frame camera, the R5 here. Well, actually not, because I've only got the one lens here. So what I've done is I have set the sensor here to 35mm crop mode. Still gives you 60 odd megapixels, but it is just the central area of the sensor. Full size sensor on this is 33mm by 44mm. The 35mm sensor is 24 by 36. So you'll see the difference in these when I show them. But I just took the lens out, and it's just, as I say, literally pointing at the back of the house, just to give you an idea. I haven't set it up precisely. It's not the best shot for getting a picture of the house, all sorts of things like that. Doesn't really matter for things like that. But anyway, let's have a quick look at some shots and some examples, and hopefully they'll show you why I use shift. They also show why the maximum shift for medium format is plus or minus 8mm approximately, and the maximum shift for 35mm is plus or minus 12mm. It's because of the different sensor size, but you can see that in the pictures here. So there's the back of the house, camera level, dead level. Normally, if you want to get a picture of the whole building, well, I could move back further, actually would be a better way of doing it, but I might not want all the foreground in it. So you tilt the lens upwards, to point the camera upwards. When you do that, you get converging verticals. That is the classic thing to fix using a shift lens. I'm an architectural photographer. Most people do not want, or my clients do not want, buildings that look like they're leaning inwards like that. So hence you use a shift lens for this. Yes, you can do it in software, but the wider the lens you do it with, the less predictable it becomes, and you end up with different aspect ratios in your pictures. So it's not quite as simple as people say, oh, you can just do this in software. Yes, you can, but anyway, that is just pointing it up. If I go back down, that is now with the camera level and the lens shifted up just a few millimeters, just enough so that we've got the chimneys and you can see it and a bit of blue sky on it there. And all that is just level camera. Now, that is the most basic use of a shift lens. To keep the camera level, change the viewpoint by moving the lens. Or in this case, because we've got a lens foot on it and that was attached to the tripod, moving the camera up and down. The two are the same. It's opposite directions. So if I move the camera down, it's the equivalent of moving the lens up. Incidentally, doing it like this means that if you want to stitch multiple images, you don't get parallax problems. Whereas if you actually move the lens, you're changing the viewpoint slightly, so you can get parallax problems when stitching. But anyway, that's that. Incidentally, I've got lots of articles, and I have written a book about how to use tilt shift lenses. So yeah, you'll find details on the Northlight website. Also got a whole separate playlist covering tilt shift lenses. But that's that. Now, let's say we add a bit more shift. Oh, there we go. We can have more sky in it. Now, depending on what you want, size of the building, how close you are, that may be better. We've got no problems here, no vignetting in the corners. Remember, this is the medium format version. And if I go down, now we see in the corners just touching black. This is because I've shifted beyond the usable range on this. Now, when I say usable range, it depends. You might not mind if you've got bits of blue sky in the corners. You might fix that in post or something like that. You've got that shift. Because the lens projects a circular image behind it and the sensor samples that, the image circle of the lens, as you hit it, you're going to hit it in the corners first. You'll see this more when I try other directions. So that's just doing that. So that's moved, that's starting to show problems. Now I'll show just some close-up examples that I had, just to give you a better idea of the shift. This is at the medium format version. So there's a medium format view back of the house. Incidentally, if you're just wondering about the 35mm, there you go, it's a crop. It's the only difference. 35mm is 35mm on medium format. It is 35mm on 35mm format, 36 by 24. You just get a wider view. This lens is the equivalent field of view, roughly, of about 28mm on the GFX. It's the equivalent on the R5 of a 35 because it is a 35. So that's straight on. Shifted up. Now I've only shifted up fairly close to the maximum amount here, and you can see a bit of darkening in the corners. That's at the 12mm of shift. It's not that much of a problem, but ideally you wouldn't want to shift that much if there's any content. The image quality does drop off in these corners. Other than that, the lens is excellent right up to close up to the corners. And that's shifted down. So up, down, like that. Obviously you could stitch if you want. Now, this is looking straight on at the building. I'm now going to shift the lens sideways. So this time I'm extending out, making a wide angle. And this is where people often look at doing this for stitching. Now, there it is. But I can see a very clear black border. This is 12mm of shift on medium format. That is not so good. We don't really want that. You won't get the full amount of shift. I say vertical shift, you can get towards 12 and just a little darkening in the corners. Do this with left-right shift and you hit the edge quite clearly of the image circle. So you've got, in terms of a usable amount, about 8mm. If we go the other direction, it's even more obvious, the vignetting on it. Now that vignetting is the property of the lens, of the image circle. Lenses project a circular image behind them, and if you go beyond that, there's nothing there. So it's using that. Now, what about diagonal shift? Diagonal shift is useful sometimes. Perspective, all sorts of various tricks. Now I've got done videos about diagonal shift, why you use it and stuff. It's the bit of shift that people tend to forget about, because normally they think of it up, down, left, right. So in this time I'm going to use it to shift diagonally. There's the start image again. There's shifting diagonally downwards here. You can't really see because of the shadow on that whether there's any problem with hitting the edge of the image circle. Remember, moving diagonally, you're going to hit it in one corner. But if we do shift the other direction, oh, there it is. There's that hard edge. Now, close to that, you've got some detail, but once again, for diagonal shift on this, you want to limit the amount of shift probably to 6-7mm for good quality in the corners. 7mm, 8mm, you're going to start touching up against this. This is 12mm. We'll see the examples when I switch to the 35mm view, how if you have this on L mount, Z mount, E mount, whatever, RF mount, if you have it on that, the vignetting is not a problem because of the smaller sensor. This is now the 35mm versions. I'll do the same range of shots. There we go, there's 35mm shifted up. You'll notice no vignetting at all in the corners. Shifted across, shifted the other direction. No vignetting at the edge. So 35mm, it works very well. Shifted down diagonally, no real problem. Shifted up diagonally, and this is on a 35mm sensor, there is just at 12mm diagonal shift, there is just a little tiny bit of vignetting in the corner. So whereas you're limited on medium format with diagonal shift, you're limited to perhaps 7mm of shift. On 35mm, you're limited to perhaps 10mm of shift. You get this on all lenses. There's nothing special about it. Incidentally, there it is on 35mm. there's the version on medium format. Go back again, and you can see quite a difference. So there you have it. That is the basics of shift on this. Any other shift lens is going to be the same. As I say, tilt is a different thing. I've not really covered that at all here, but that just gives you an idea of the coverage. In terms of image quality, yeah, lovely sharp brickwork. I'll do some more photos and things. Incidentally, if you're curious about the quality of the lens here, I did put into a gallery on DPReview in a post in the medium format forum. I'll put a link to it in the notes, which has, I believe, a dozen or more full resolution 100 megapixel sample images from this, where you can have a look at the fine detail, flare, and a few other things like that. But anyway, yes, I will be doing more details of this. I even tried it for some star photos, and it's very good. There is a little bit of coma, and you can see a few slight distortions in it, but this one is not really made as an astrophotography lens, but there's some interesting results, and I'll come back to that as well. But I'll test that also with the very wide angle stuff. So if you've got any questions, do let me know. Happy to answer them. There are lots of articles and things on this, and the other thing to note of that is, as I said, I've got a book on the subject which covers everything I know about how to use these lenses. Hope that was of some interest. Thanks for watching.